This morning, though, doctors are warning about how extra vigilant pregnant women must be to stay hydrated. Dr. Greg Marchand is here now to shine a light on the issue that's a big concern, especially during the first trimester. Plus, we're going to talk about a few other issues. Thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. You're absolutely right about hydration. Hydration during pregnancy is absolutely critical. Pregnant women's going to need at least 2 liters of water every single day. And of course, those requirements are going to go up significantly if she's exposed to sunshine or heat. If a pregnant woman is dehydrated, so is the baby. You know, there's a lot of vitamins and minerals that a baby can steal from the mother, but water is just too small of a molecule. So unfortunately, if a woman's dehydrated during pregnancy, preterm labor will also follow because the mother's body knows if she doesn't have enough water for herself, she just can't support the growing baby.
So is it just a matter of drinking enough, or is it really a combo of drinking extra water and perhaps not being outside as much?
Well, I don't think there's a maximum amount of water that you can drink during a day, so I'd encourage everybody to stay very well hydrated. What's really interesting, though, is even a little bit of exposure to sunlight is really going to increase your requirements. So 2 liters a day would be an absolute minimum, and then I'd really kick it up by at least 1 liter, every time you're exposed to direct sunlight. So although it's not particularly dangerous to be in direct sunlight, you do have to remember anytime that sunshine is hitting you, you're going to have to drink some more fluids.
And obviously, it goes without saying it's important throughout the entirety of your pregnancy, but why specifically so in that first trimester? Why so essential?
Well, the first trimester is a time when the baby's more prone to miscarriage than later in the pregnancy. So that is the time where conditions like infection or dehydration can lead to a miscarriage. So it's going to be particularly important in the first trimester, though hydration is going to be very important during all the trimesters of pregnancy.
Well, since we're speaking of the first trimester, I know there's a couple other topics that you wanted to address. One of those being ectopic pregnancies. Not so easy for me to say, but tell me a little bit about what that is and what we need to know about it.
So there's a very big first trimester danger. Ectopic pregnancy or pregnancy outside the uterus is still the #1 killer of pregnant women. So that's something everyone has to be aware of, something to look for in the first trimester, particularly if you haven't been to a physician yet and haven't verified that your pregnancy is in the uterus. That's very important. So any woman in the first trimester that's having severe abdominal or pelvic pain, particularly if that severe pain is not associated with heavy bleeding, really needs to seek attention on an emergency basis because this is still the #1 killer of pregnant women.
Interesting. How common is that?
It's rare. It's going to be less than 1 in 1,000 pregnancies, but as I said, it could be deadly. So it's certainly something you want to seek attention for.
Yeah. So if you're the 1 in 1,000, that's the only number you need to know about. Let's also talk about medications.
Right. If you're becoming pregnant, there's a lot of medication that women are commonly on that's just not safe in pregnancy. So it's going to be important to stop these medications as soon as you realize you're pregnant and go ahead and seek medical attention. In a lot of these cases, there will be other medications that you can take or that are just as effective or almost as effective. So it's important to see your obstetrician right away. As for some of the more common of these medications, skin medications to treat acne, particularly tetracyclines, those have been found to cause harm to fetal tissue. And acne creams like retinoid creams have been found to cause birth defects, so we'll want to stop those right away. The blood pressure medication misoprostol, unfortunately, that's one that's both linked to miscarriages and preterm labor. So if you're taking that for stomach ulcer, that really needs to be stopped right away. The blood pressure medication lisinopril has been linked to problems with fetal kidneys, so that's one we can't use. And then 2 fairly common drugs for mental health, lithium and benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines are going to include common medications like Ativan and Xanax. Those need to be stopped as well. The benzodiazepines have a reaction with the fetal brain's development during gestation, and the lithium has been found to be linked to heart defects. So these medications really need to be stopped, and it's important you see your physician as soon as possible to find out what medications you can be on instead that could be safe.
Yeah, and I know we're out of time, but I do just want to make this point because it's one thing just to stop an acne medication, but if you have bipolar disorder, you can't just stop your medication, right? So if you have someone that has high blood pressure or the bipolar, you should perhaps talk to your physician before you even think about getting pregnant. I know you can't always plan it, but if you are trying, it's a process.
You're absolutely right. In an ideal world, a visit with an obstetrician ahead of time to manage these medications before you actually start to become pregnant would be ideal. But if a woman gets caught off guard, isn't expecting a pregnancy, best to stop the medication and see a physician as soon as possible.
Very good. Dr. Greg Marchand, thank you so much. Important information this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.